of EROs in schools and the renewal of the contract slash recommendations. I am a graduate of Shabazz High School. Previously, I went to La Follette. I went to Whitehorse Middle School, and I went to Schenck Elementary and Muir Elementary School. And this issue is very important to me as a member of the Latino community, as a member of the LGBT community, as someone who grew up in Madison, Wisconsin. I think that the way the committee handled themselves when working with young Black and brown activists, young queer activists, was very disrespectful, very shameful on our community. I think that was just very awful. And so hopefully you all will be more receptive to our comments in the future. So I'm here to read the things that I wrote for last time. In my time studying at Whitehorse Middle School and La Follette High School, there were disappearances of students in my classroom. They started when I was in middle school. My Mexican peers and I were often put in detention for speaking in Spanish, ironically enough, in our Spanish class. We would correct the teacher, and my darker-skinned peers started disappearing from the classroom. A girl, one of my friends since elementary school, kept getting sent out of her class for things that my white peers, that my white peers would never get sent out for. Talking back to teachers, not paying attention in class, and other things that shouldn't have been punishable by suspension. She eventually disappeared too. In high school, a Black boy who was labeled a troublemaker in my math class, often after repeatedly being sent to the principal, stopped coming to class. I saw him interact most often with the police officer in our school, and one day he stopped coming. Tony Robinson wasn't in my classroom, but we all felt the burden when he, a student, was gunned down by a police officer. The people who fill the juvenile detention center here in Dane County are not scary, dangerous people. They are not learning during their time in these youth prisons. They are my classmates, friends, and peers whose futures are being taken away. They are being punished for mistakes that white children can afford to make. When a student goes to juvie, they are more likely to go back. Instead of graduating to high school, they graduate to prison. What is the point of punishing children for things that children do? What satisfaction do y'all get from punishing marginalized students into juvenile detention and then eventually into prison? When did discipline become preferred over compassion and love? Pardon my language, but it's fucked up that a child who could not know any better, who could use more support, cannot get those things because of their race, gender, sexuality, and/or ability status. Having police officers in schools is a direct school-to-prison pipeline, a disturbing force that Dane County is known for statewide and countrywide. And there's enough data that exists to tell you that, and I can brainstorm 50 different ways to use the money for the EROs. If you care about Black and brown youth, don't put police officers in schools.
Thank you. In order to stay on time and be respectful of everyone's time, I would appreciate that we hold the applause to a minimum. Susan, followed by Greg Greg Jalembiak. Was that close? Okay, thank you, Greg. Susan.
Hi, my name is Susan Gettert. I am here tonight speaking to you about the resolution with the Federal Office of Civil Rights that was signed by the superintendent in December 2016. This resolution agreement came about after the OCR conducted a review of advanced courses and found significant racial disparities in all of the high schools. Part of the resolution agreement was to set up an advanced learning advisory committee with the intent of finding root causes of these disparities and proposing informed solutions to help reduce them. I was able to attend 2 of these advisory meetings this past winter and spring. From my perspective, they functioned much less like a committee, which implies a core group of people who are committed to researching root causes, gathering public input, and proposing informed solutions based on that research and input, and more like public information sessions. Those meetings were not especially well attended. There was very little consistency in who did attend, and at those meetings, many parents learned for the first time about the OCR resolution and the general role of the Advanced Learning Department. Yet, they were supposed to act as advisors to the school district in solving inequality. The resolution was signed in December of 2016. We are nearly 2 years into this process, and it has not been especially transparent, nor approached with rigor or commitment. I understand that closing gaps in racial disparities is an enormously complex task and that it takes a lot of time and a lot of work from many stakeholders and experts, both from within the district and also from the community, from students and families who are directly impacted by the work the OCR has compelled MMSD to do. I believe that MMSD owes the families in our schools more transparency, better public accountability, and a deeper commitment to doing the work outlined in the 2016 resolution with the OCR. To my knowledge, this has not appeared as a specific agenda item for the board, which is surprising to me given the importance of this work and MMSD's stated commitment to equity and improving academic excellence for students of color. I will close with this. Next month, when you set the year's agenda, please be sure to include the district's work with the 2016 OCR resolution. Please do this work with more transparency, more rigor, and more commitment. It won't be easy, but if it's done well moving forward, this is an opportunity to do work the district can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, followed by Nino Rodriguez.
Hello, I'm Greg Golumbik. I'm here to ask that the use of EROs be ended in Madison schools. The academic research that has been conducted on the effect of EROs indicates that EROs do not improve school safety, but do have detrimental effects in accelerating the school-to-prison pipeline. Just to give you an example of what the empirical evidence shows, I'll read you the abstract for one such study, and I'll note that all the published research has essentially produced similar findings. The paper is called Policing Schools, Examining the Impact of Place Management Activities on School Violence, by Christian Schwartz et al., 2015, published in the American Journal of Criminal Justice. Abstract, quote, the present study examines whether the presence of school resource officers, SROs, and their level of involvement in place management activities are associated with higher or lower rates of school-based serious violence. This study uses data from the 2010 school survey on crime and safety conducted by the National Center for Educational Statistics. Propensity score matching is used to create a quasi-experimental design and isolate the influence of SROs and their level of involvement in school management activities on school-based serious violence. The analysis reveals that schools with a school resource officer are associated with higher rates of reported serious violence, and these schools with SROs that participate in more place manager duties are also associated with higher rates of reported serious violence. These findings do not support the notion that SROs are acting as effective place managers and through this place management reducing reported serious violence. Rather, it appears that the presence of an SRO and their execution of place manager duties is associated with an increase in serious violence. Policy implications and limitations of the current research are also discussed. End quote. It's a failed approach. There are reasons to believe that various traditional school safety approaches, such as the use of EROs, may actually reduce school safety by creating a more carceral environment with accompanying behavior problems. In addition, the evidence is now extremely strong that for all less serious crimes involving juveniles, compared to doing nothing at all, formal processing through the criminal justice system increases the likelihood that they'll commit more crimes in the future. There's even a Campbell review of 29 experiments for a total of 7,304 juveniles over a 35-year period, all showing this. The evidence is overwhelming. If you're seeking to improve school safety, the current approach actually has a counterproductive impact. Rather than spending money on EROs, if the actual intent is to improve school safety, MMSD would be far better off implementing something like Chicago's Becoming a Man program. Becoming a Man provides mentoring and peer support and utilizes cognitive behavior therapy to teach elements such as reduction of automaticity, slowing down and thinking before acting, positive anger expression, and visionary goal setting, etc. This approach has been subjected to multiple randomized trials, consistently showing a strong impact, reducing crime and violent crime, and producing improvements in academic outcomes, including likelihood of graduation. You should spend your limited funding on something that has been shown to work, rather than something that has been shown to not work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nino, followed by Mai Tao Yang. We would appreciate that people are ready to speak when the previous speaker is finished. Thank you.
All right, hello. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Nino Rodriguez. I'm here tonight representing Families for Justice in support of Freedom, Inc.'s long-term demand at this point to remove police from the schools. I personally have been coming here, as well as other members of Families for Justice, on this issue for 2 years now. either here or in the ad hoc committee. I'm speaking as a parent of a former MMSD student who has special needs, and also have some direct experience in the school as a volunteer with the Youth Peer Court program that used to be at Memorial High. It's my, I guess, distinct displeasure to have to talk about school shootings, but I think ultimately a lot of what the police in schools issue is about is just that. Kids and staff and teachers dying in schools. And I'm hoping in what I say tonight to try to separate some of the myths from the facts about the issues of police in schools. So the first myth I want to address is that police in schools have ever stopped a fatal school shooting. The fact is that between Columbine and Parkland, so the 19 years in there, police in schools have not actually stopped a school shooting where somebody was killed. In about half of the school shootings that have happened, and there have been about 25, the school shooting came to an end because the person killed themselves. In about another fifth of the shootings, it came to an end because unarmed school staff of one sort or another stopped the person. In another fifth of the shootings, the person was arrested by regular police, not the school police. So the record shows that having police in schools do not actually address the school safety issue that is often cited most frequently, this fear of school shootings. What are some other things that we think of in terms of myths? Well, one myth that we found is this idea that having police in the schools leads to an immediate response. So Families for Justice did an open records request of the officers' own internal reports to MMSD and MPD. And one of the things that we found was that the police weren't actually physically present at the incidents. Only 1/3, or let me rephrase that. Police were only present at an incident when it was happening 1/3 of the time. So, in other words, 2/3 of the time, the incident that the police reported, both to MMSD and their MPD supervisors, in 2/3 of those times, the incident was actually over before the officer arrived. What are the police doing? Another myth is what they're doing all day. In nearly half of the workdays that we reviewed from this open records request, the police officers assigned to the schools said they had nothing to report.
Thank you.
I'll
If you
leave it
could
there.
finish up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mai, followed by Savang Jahorm.
My name is Mai Tao, and I'm a youth organizer at Freedom Inc. I find the EROs not helpful for our youth of color because when youth of colors get in trouble, police are the first ones to show up. They treat us like shit, but when it comes to a white person, you all treat them so nice and with respect. What is the difference between their life and ours? So is police here to protect your people or both you and people of color? Because clearly it's not showing that. To take cops out of schools and don't replace them with these liaisons, because elementary and middle schools don't need them. They have the right to be kids because we all are once kids and we all made mistakes. They don't need cops to control them and treat them as if they are less than a human. As a person of color, yes, I am scared of police. I'm scared that I'm the next person that they will criminalize me as a bad person just because I'm a different skin color. If you all think that having police in our schools are okay, then there's really no point of us coming to school and getting harassed because we get harassed by the police out on the streets every day. This is just a waste of your $360,000 that you are giving away. Police aren't for us. Please make your decisions right tonight, since you all are the decision makers in keeping the cops in schools or not. We demand, 1, to end the contract between the MMSD and the MPD. meaning we don't want police to be involved in our schools' activities, even on school grounds. Second, invest money into youth of color, so pouring the $360,000 into youth of color, giving them supplies such like bus passes that they can't afford, better lunches, not just better lunches, but free reduced lunch to the people who can't afford lunch. Also, hire youth advocates to work with students of color in a cultural specific way. Last but not least, parents and students should have community control over discipline, meaning students and police get a chance to decide what they want to learn in schools. Lastly, no cops in schools. Thank you.
Savang, followed by Zan Mona.
It's Savang.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. My name is Savang Chom. I am here representing myself, but I also work with Freedom Inc. with the youth. I'm here to talk about the ERO. We should end the contract. I'm tired of telling my story, so I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to read an article that schools around the nation are doing. It is called The Dignity in School. So these are the campaigns that have been developed. Counselors, not cops. Ending the regular presence of the law enforcement in school. This set of policy recommendation calls on school, districts, state, and federal policy makers to remove any law enforcement assigned to be present on a regular basis in school. So these are the resource that I found. These recommendations built on model code and are based on best practice research and experience of students, parents, inventions workers, peace builders, and educators from all around the countries, and on a human rights frameworks for school. They are designed so that communities and policymakers can identify specific areas of concern and implement the recommendation language, including changing laws policy while taking this account into diverse needs and character of individual communities. The policy recommendation for school districts, states, and federal policy makers as individual into 3 sections. 1, end the regular presence of law enforcement in school. We are calling the removal of any law enforcement personnel assigned to be present on a regular basis in school, including sworn officer, school officer, school resource officer, sheriff deputy, patrol officer, tribal officer, ICE officer, immigration officer, and armed security guard. 2, create safe school through positive safety and disciplined member. And 3, restrict the role of law enforcement that call into school. So what I'm asking you is that, there are models out there around the nation that are working. And that's what we should be looking for. We need to have school, we need to have dignity within our school for our youth of colors. Because I myself grew up here as a refugee, came here not knowing my own history. I have to learn it from a grassroots such as Freedom Inc. I was never taught my own history and never understand why I was here in the first place, why my country were bombed, why I have to flee to my country to survive. Because the US bombed my country, and this is the reason why I'm here. And while I'm here, I'm going to strive, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for those who can't voice themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Zone, followed by Cynthia Yang.
Hi, my name is pronounced Zhong Mo. I am a community organizer here in Madison and have actually graduated from the school district. I would like to start out with a quote. When my tears stream down and my blood boils, and the history of my people weighs down on me, you still come and tear us of our voices, not even letting us cry out loud, but I refuse. I might not scream out loud, and my voice may be as soft as a cloud, but it will blow you like a grenade. You may stab my heart, and my tears may turn into blood, but I will crawl towards the end. You ask me what I believe? Well, let me tell you, I believe in my people, Black and Southeast Asian youth. For over a year now, our young people, Black and Southeast Asian, have been showing up to the ERO Ad Hoc Committee. We know that they're not the decision makers, but they have the power of influence. And we have been requesting and demanding and coming with multiple stories, own personal stories, stories of young people across the nation, of the brutality that they are facing in their schools by police officers. And yet, we are being shut down. And just recently, have these white supremacists been disruptive and aggressive, and yet our young people are not being protected at all. On two different occasions, two different meetings, during one of the meetings, one of our young Black teen leaders was actually assaulted by a white woman. Did the committee do anything about that to protect our young people? No. We had urged that there be protection. And what did the school district decide to do? Surveillance us by bringing in security guards. What happened at last week's meeting? Our young people being surveillanced, harassed, shamed, and questioned. We will continue coming to say no cops, no security. It don't matter what color they are. They all do the same thing, which is to prevent and to prevent us from voicing our truth, to prevent us of our humanity. So again, I urge you to remove cops out of our schools and actually really, truly invest in Black and Southeast Asian youth.
Thank you. Cynthia, followed by Bianca Gomez.
Hi, my name is Cynthia. I'm a youth organizer at Freedom Inc. 2 weeks ago made me feel unsafe because the ad hoc committee allowed these racist white people into the space, and they allowed these people to record as youth who feels uncomfortable and who are under 21. Again, we're under 21. Our youth got attacked on that day in this room right here, and the ad hoc committee didn't do anything and did not even check up on the youth, except to check up for that white lady who attacked our youth. If y'all can't even protect our youth that day, how in the hell y'all finally think the police will protect us, especially in school? Why wasting money into cops in schools? We are students here. We know what we want. Y'all ignored us and even listened to, not even listen to what we want. What made me mad the most is that y'all listen to these racist white people who either never attended or no longer a student in MMSD, and who don't even have a kid who attended MMSD. We've been here over a year and a half telling you guys we don't want cops in schools. Y'all choose to add more cops. Like, I ain't trying to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning to go to school and get pushed around or get questioned or watch other students of color, especially Black and brown youths, get thrown across the room by a cop. And so tonight, y'all better open your ears to listen to the students and put your thinking cap on. Think like a board member and show us that y'all deserve your seat here. No cops in school.
Thank you. Bianca, followed by Sonia Worthy.
Hey, I'm being harassed over here. So you all know it's happening again, you all. We got white supremacist hate speech in the building, and what we're doing is trying to prevent them from video recording you. Open meeting. I'm sure you said it the last time. We can videotape anyone.
Yeah, we'd like to remind the members of the audience that recording of any part of the meeting, including members of the audience, must be permitted by state statute. However, if recording becomes disruptive or is used as a means to harass or intimidate, such as stepping into someone's personal space, they will be asked to leave. That the state statute, recordings are permitted.
So to be clear, what these people do, right, they take photos of our youth, they publish their names, they publish their addresses, and then they get harassed on social media, they get harassed in public. So that is why we do not want our kids being recorded.
Yeah,
if that makes sense, right? So I think a white supremacist publishing somebody's information should kind of be considered disruptive.
Yeah, it's... The fact is, we are going to follow what the laws permit, and recordings are permitted. This needs to be a respectful environment. If it's not, we're going to take a recess.
So you think white supremacy is respectful?
Recording is allowed by law.
So is white supremacy, apparently.
Yeah. Bianca, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I want to speak. But I don't want our kids being recorded.
Bianca, 3 minutes.
What? Okay, so...
Bianca, please continue. There is only you have 3 minutes. We're going to continue with the meeting.
Okay, fine. So again, we've been showing up here time and time again, asking that y'all take police out of schools, asking that y'all don't let white supremacists harm our children, but obviously that's not important to y'all. So our youth don't feel safe, and instead of actually protecting them, you allow this to happen. So shame on y'all for that. Second, the question is, like, again, y'all already know our position. I know we haven't really been to that many school board meetings, but I'm pretty sure y'all are heavily aware of our position. The question is, do you actually care, right? Because last week, we had the security team that you hired to protect us and keep us safe harass our youth. It doesn't matter that they're black. I don't have anything personal against the security team, like as individuals, right? But they're hired to do the exact same thing that police officers were hired to do in our schools, which is surveil us, right? And I just want to call out the liberal white supremacy sitting on this board, right? Just like police departments used to hire black officers to beat protesters, y'all hired the security team to police us, and that's still white supremacy. So I just want to say that.
Thank you. Sonia.
So it doesn't matter. And again, like Cynthia said, one of our youth was attacked by a white lady. Somebody came up off the stage and went in the back and hugged her. Nobody asked, was our kid okay? Not one person. Right? So what does that say about y'all? Again, y'all need to do better. We're saying that you take police out of schools, stop being white supremacist fuck, invest, actually give the money to the youth, because both common sense and scientific research says that if you invest in kids, they don't need to be policed. And third, let the kids tell you what safety looks like for them instead of assuming that you know best just because you're a grown white person. Okay?
Excuse me. Sonia Worthy, followed by Laurel Bastian.
I just want to elevate everything that Bianca said that was right on, like white supremacy. One of the tools of white supremacy is hiding behind rules, right? Oh, but the rules say, right? I'm not about that. But my name's Sonia Worthy, and I'm a mental health social worker, and I'm strongly against the police being in our youth schools. Social workers and counselors train years and years so they can be properly equipped with the necessary skills to uplift our youth. And yet I've been hearing all these things about these responsibilities now being given to police officers who carry deadly weapons, and that just doesn't make sense to me. The shift in thinking of police officers as social workers with guns, that was something that I saw in a quote and something that the ad hoc committee published. Really, really disturbed me. It's just so alarming. When students of color, queer youth, and youth with disabilities see cops, they don't see safety. They see violence. They see histories of violence against their communities. Cops can't be social workers. They can't be counselors or healers. And the police department, as a white supremacist system, has no interest in the health of youth of color. They never have. They only facilitate the school-to-prison pipeline, right? That's well known, very well known. We all know it. All of y'all know it. So if you're truly invested in the health and well-being of youth of color, you will vote to end the contract with the Madison Police Department and instead invest in youth of color by hiring more teachers of color, counselors of color, community advocates of color, and in allowing parents to be the main voice in disciplining their children. So lastly, I ask you to please listen to the Freedom Inc. Youth Squad and the staff, and to think about the courage that it takes to speak openly about the trauma they have experienced and that their communities have experienced at the hands of police officers. There's a reason that people are so upset about this. And I think, again, it's a white supremacist tactic to be like, look at all these angry black people, right? For no reason. Look, we've been so nice. No, like they are reacting to the violence that y'all have enacted in their schools, right? They are reacting very appropriately and honestly very forgiving, like very, very forgiving. So I ask that you please listen to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Laurel Bastian, followed by Nico McGowan.
Hi. First, I just want to say thanks. I'm also here around ERO issues. Thanks to folks who worked on the committees, but more than, because this doesn't look, honestly, like a super fun place to be. Hopefully some of you are having fun in here, but I wouldn't be. But like exponential thanks, I'd say, to the kids who've been coming all of this time. Like I feel nervous standing up here, and I'm a lecturer at UW. I don't know how they get up here. But they have moral conviction. I'm the parent of a 4-year-old. So next year, he'll be part of your school system. And I'm not hopeful. I believe that it's wrong to have EROs in schools. And I deeply, deeply hope that you take them out. I think folks have already talked about, one, their own individual experience, which is the most important thing in this room. They've talked about, two, what the evidence shows, which is the second most important thing in this room, and I would echo that. But one of the things that I've heard from folks in response to hearing individual stories is a lot of people contact us, and you don't always know what those people are saying. As the parent of a white child, I have a fear, just as every parent does, many parents do, that that child might not be safe in school. But as the parent of a white child, that fear has really nothing. It's exponentially smaller. Fear of somebody coming up and shooting a school, fear of I don't even know what, than the actuality that parents of color and kids of color have of racial bias in action. Like there's just no comparison. So when we are calling and talking to you, I hope that you actually weigh those things differently. Because that tiny, tiny, small possibility that somebody is going to come in and harm our children in the way that we see on the news, which pains all of us in this room, is nothing compared to what kids are showing up for at all of your meetings. So I just add my voice to the other voices who are saying, please take cops out of our schools. Please reroute all of those $300 and however many $1,000 worth of resources to kids directly, whether that's bus passes, whether that's food, whatever it is. And please also give parents more control over how their children are treated, including, whatever, just everything. Give parents and kids more control directly within the school system. Thank you.
Thank you. Nico, followed by Jason Strauss.
So, my name is Nico Magayon. I've been coming to these meetings for the last year. I've been here in Madison for the last 10 years. I have this Free the 350 shirt on, and just connecting how the school-to-prison pipeline really feeds into the fact that we have a disproportionate incarceration issue of black folks overrepresented in the jail. And I know that there's MMSD students and alumni who are in there. So first of all, I want to speak to some of the dynamics that have been happening in this moment, and also at least half of the last 4 or 5 meetings. What is this committee really going to do about allowing white supremacist media to participate and be dignified in this space? Did you all see these blog articles that, you know, some of these older gentlemen, David Blaska, Daniel Durst, all these folks have been posting on the internet? Are you all going to be swayed by the Make America Great Again crowd and the hate vote? You know, I understand that free speech is free speech, but not all speech is equal. There should be no tolerance for coded language, and certainly not for overt aggression towards youth of color and youth-serving professionals who don't have the same power and privilege as cisgender white men attempting to speak from some sort of place of expertise about the climate of our local public schools. You have a lot of the white men who come into these spaces speaking way out of their lane. They're using dog whistle terms and hearsay to justify their arguments, and then behaving aggressively when confronted for their racism. I'll never forget watching some of the videos in which some of the white men, Daniel Durst in particular, is berating people, berating Jean, saying hyperbolized horseshit, and just yelling and creating a really harmful environment here. So, you know, time and time again, this strong, determined, righteous group of young youth of color in Madison are told directly in these meetings and by you all and in your actions that their voice actually isn't authentic or genuine. Time and time again, their voice and their bodies are met with resistance and ignorance from grown-ups who say that this committee should listen to other youth instead, with the strong implication that there's some mythical other side of the story that this body is somehow not hearing. So I've got about 51 seconds left, and I'll just say that stop subjecting black and brown youth to really triggering interactions that actually remind them of the daily trauma of seeing police officers occupy their schools, only to now see white men in corners of the space, you know, occupying this space of public discourse regarding an issue that actually disproportionately affects black and brown youth themselves. That has a chilling effect on youth of color being able to speak and live their truth out in these spaces. So I'll just end by saying, no cops in schools first and foremost, and no white supremacy in public meeting spaces that are centered around racial equity for youth of color here in Madison. Thank you all.
Thank you. Jason Strauss.
And now for a much more dry topic on annexation and reattachment of school districts. First of all, I want to thank you all for serving on a school board. All of you could be spending time right now on this beautiful night with your friends and family, but instead you are here because you care about children and doing the difficult, thankless work of helping kids. I'm a big supporter of public education, and I'm continually amazed at all the fantastic programs that the Madison School District does for all children. And I have a little bit of experience in this area, as I've been a public school teacher myself for 20 years in Verona, with probably another 20 to go. So a little bit of history about Swan Creek, which is in yellow. We were a small neighborhood in the Oregon School District for decades. And then in 2002, the Swan Creek neighborhood was transferred from Oregon to Madison against the wishes of the residents of Swan Creek. Oregon was not willing to service the area, and Madison was willing to help. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. But since the transfer was not of the wishes of the residents of Swan Creek, we immediately petitioned both districts not to go through with the agreement. But neither district was interested in negating an agreement they had just negotiated the year before. As you can see on that map, it literally carved a hole in the Oregon School District. We are a small district, or a small neighborhood that is contiguous with other Oregon neighborhoods, but we do not touch a single Madison neighborhood. When you look at the Oregon School District, it looks like a puzzle with one piece missing, and we are that piece. Our western border is Oregon Industrial, our northern border is State Wildlife Area, our southern border is Oregon, and our eastern border is Oregon. The only neighborhoods with children in it for our kids to play with are in Oregon. Consequently, the vast majority of our students choose to open enroll to Oregon. In fact, Oregon even added a bus route to come pick up our students, and a new school is being planned about a mile away. Now let me ask you, would you rather have your children have to wait outside in a cold, dark Wisconsin winter morning to take a long bus ride, or go 2 minutes away? Swan Creek's only crime was that we were the first development in the northwest corner of the Oregon School District instead of the second or the third. If Swan Creek was being developed right now, this would not even be considered. We do not have many kids in our neighborhood. Take my street, for example. There are 14 houses. Only 4 have children in school, with a total of 8 students. 6 open enroll to Oregon, 2 go to private school. We have no children on my street that attend Madison. And I've been surprised as we've gone door to door how many residents are still upset that our neighborhood was transferred against their wishes. So I've been collecting signatures one house at a time, and it's been pretty consistent. For every 9 yeses, I get 1 no, 1 undecided, and 1 empty home. So I appreciate everything Madison has done for, oh, I'm out of time. I will email you the rest of my comments. I apologize that I ran out of time, and I thank you once again for your dedication to kids.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of our public appearances. Thank you to all who have come to speak and to show their support of various issues tonight. The next item on the agenda is the board president's announcements and reports, and we have 3 items to share. The first is that we have lost 2 of our beloved educators who launched MMSD donor-funded scholarships. Last month, the MMSD community lost 2 longtime educators, both of whom had launched student scholarships as part of their legacy. Marlis Slope co-founded the Reading Recovery Scholarship with Dale Wortley. Over the past 15 years, this fund has helped more than 80 former MMSD Reading Recovery students attend college. In this fall, the Maria del Rosario Covarrubias Scholarship will be awarded for the first time in honor of Maria's belief in the power of education. 2 of Maria's children, Jorge and Cynthia, are current district staff members. The board and the Madison Metropolitan School District thank Marlis and Maria's families, friends, and colleagues for their ongoing support of these very meaningful scholarship awards. The next announcement is congratulations to the Sanchez Scholar graduates. Since its first graduation in 2004, the MMSD Sanchez Scholars Program has enjoyed a 100% graduation rate. It is our honor tonight to recognize this year's Sanchez Scholars graduating class, a class that includes both high school and college graduates. Congratulations to the 2018 Sanchez Scholars high school graduates, La Follett's Jose Noe, Kadaya Moda, West Jonathan Taltoa, and East Marco de los Reyes Sanchez, and Vanessa Vasquez Galvez. All 4 will attend college this fall. Congratulations as well to 4 MMSD alumni and Sanchez Scholars who graduated college this year. Memorial alumnus, Crisanto Arce Pinea, Carlos Loza, and La Follette alum, Angela Gomez Rodriguez, graduated from Madison College, and finally, West alum, Aurelia Ugalde, graduated from UW-Madison. We wish all 8 Sanchez Scholars bright futures and the very best in their future academic and professional pursuits. Our last item is the state awarded Madison nearly $1 million in school safety grants. MMSD is among many Wisconsin school districts in the state to receive grant money to enhance the security of our school buildings. The $993,000 grant will help the district fund new interior and exterior door locking hardware, keyless locks which operate with wireless fobs and are currently being tested at East High School this summer. The grant will also allow for the purchase of transparent window hardening film, which will be installed on glass windows and doors near the school's Welcome Center. The safety of our students and staff is our highest priority, and we are grateful to the state for helping us to make our school buildings as secure as possible. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's announcements and reports.
Thank you, Mary. And I want to add my thanks to everyone who spoke in the audience tonight. I am excited to present to you our next strategic framework, which is essentially the district's plan for improvement in the next phase of MMSD. I want to thank the board for your hard work on this over the past year. I want to thank the many students, family members, community members, staff members that helped to put this together as well. So let's go ahead and dive in. I want to make sure that everyone is aware that in addition to launching our new framework, our new plan, annually we report on our progress as a school district. That annual report will be shared widely tomorrow as a way to hold ourselves accountable to the community that we serve. You'll see in there our progress on all the goals that we set as a school district and all the metrics disaggregated by every student group that we serve. We'll highlight some of the more accelerated progress that we've made over the last 5 years, specifically at the elementary level. We'll be highlighting 5 of the elementary schools that have made breakthrough results over the past 5 years, as well as celebrate some of the improvements that we've made in graduation rates across all of our high schools. Lots more work to do, but also lots that we need to celebrate as well. As far as the new strategic framework goes, our work over the last 5 years has helped put us on a more positive trajectory, but mostly it's built the foundation that will allow us to make more aggressive and positive change in the future, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. As a reminder, we worked hard over the past year to hear as many perspectives and voices on where we are as a school district and where we need to go. We had over 100 sessions. I was personally present in every one of those sessions, with the exception of a few, and talked with more than 2,000 people along the way. And our goal was to elevate voices that we don't hear enough as a school district and prioritize them in our planning for the future of our school district. We also relied on a strategic framework planning group that included about 80 educators, students, parents as well, and they really put their heart and soul into this plan, and I want to publicly thank them tonight. The plan, as you know, starts with our vision statement. Every school will be a thriving school that prepares every student to graduate college, career, and community ready. That has not changed. But we worked with the board over the past year to better articulate a set of core values that will help us drive decision making as a school district. As we know, and as we heard to some degree tonight, the decisions that we have to make as a school district are incredibly important ones. And sometimes the answers are not clear. And we have to fall back on our core values when we make those decisions. The core values that we've chosen are around excellence, prioritizing students' sense of belonging in our schools, leaning into creativity as a school district, always making decisions through a racial equity and social justice lens, elevating voice, and never losing our focus. That means not giving up when the work is complex, but staying the course. We also set 3 new goals for the school district. 2 of them are somewhat familiar. The first one is all about making sure that every child is on track to graduate, but not just to graduate. We want them to be college, career, and community ready. Our second goal is all about climate and cultures in our schools. And the third is a new goal, and that is to ensure that African American children and youth excel in school. This is an important goal because we believe in Black children. We believe in their brilliance, their creativity, their capability, and we know it's on us to unlock that capability in our schools.
If y'all really believe that, y'all take police out of schools.
I was expecting that comment to come. All right. We hear you. Let me talk a little bit about the strategy to get there. We, in addition to having a set of core values and a new set of goals to drive performance in our school district, we've also outlined a strategy to get there, one that will continue to fine-tune and develop over time. The first one is all about empowering school communities. And this idea is Really, based on lessons that we've learned over the last 5 years, the schools in our district that have made the most progress have been working closely with their staff, their students, their families to define a strategy that is unique to their school. We want to do a better job of creating the flexibility necessary to unleash the creativity in each of our school communities. The second major strategy is about investing more than ever in people. We're also going to invest in people. And what we mean by this is that we want to we know that the greatest asset that we have in our schools are the educators that serve the children. We want to further invest in them as culturally responsive teachers. We want to further invest in not just individual people, but teams of people working collaboratively together to serve students, and by better developing the talent of the educators and the staff members in our school district. The third major strategy is about streamlining priorities. We know that schools can't do it on their own. The central office is very important in paving the way for student success, and we want them to be working on the right things. So we have focused in on 3 major priority items. The first one is about providing deeper learning experiences for students. That includes committing to making sure that our curriculum is historically accurate, culturally responsive, and inclusive. The second priority area is about building the trusting relationships necessary to foster safe environments in our schools, which we've heard quite a bit about tonight. And the third area is about expanding personalized options that will lead students to their post-secondary success. So continuing to do our work on pathways, for example, the Early College STEM Academy, and even more in the future. The fourth big priority area is about planning for the future. As we've discussed over the past year, we don't think we've done a good enough job with long-term planning. In collaboration with the larger Madison community, we want to focus on a few areas: early childhood, which we think is a tremendous opportunity for us, neighborhood needs through things like the community school strategy, and better investment in the quality of our school buildings. We want those buildings to be more reflective of the value that we place on the students that we serve. And then the last strategy that we are employing in this next framework is about embracing innovation. We know we don't have all the answers. We think we're pretty decent at continuous improvement, but we want to take more risks as a school district. We want to learn how to better define the problem, listen to the people who are experiencing the problem, ideate, think about all of the possible solutions to the problem, choose something and try something. So we're excited about building this capacity, this capability as a school district. Last thing that I'll say on the framework for now is about execution of the strategy. There are some ways of working aligned with those core values that I talked about at the beginning of this presentation that we think are incredibly important for us to continue to do, and not only continue, but to continue to do them better than we ever have before. So with that said, Mary, I just want to thank you again. This has been an important process for us. I know the board will be voting on accepting the framework, and look forward to leading this work forward with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I certainly applaud the work that went into this, Jen. I know that it has been a year of outreach of over 2,000 people participating in this. I'm sure all the board members will be weighing in, but I feel that now is the time. There's been an investment in laying a stronger foundation. None of us, well, I will speak for myself. I'm certainly not satisfied with the status quo and know that we need to do better for all students. And I think that this framework allows us and helps provide that type of direction to move this district forward. But it will be the hard work that goes into it that's really going to make the difference. So before we go towards a vote with regards to accepting this, I'd ask board members for any comments or discussion on the strategic framework. Yeah, TJ.
Thanks for the work, the effort, the responsiveness, not only to board members, but also to members of the community. And I guess this isn't so much about, well, it is about the framework, but it's more a plea to the other board members as well as the senior administrative staff, which is that in August we will be looking at our plans for the year and what our priorities will be as a board, and what topics we want to delve into and where we want to create change. And ask you all to consider this year very seriously within the context of the goals and other items in the framework. And please do come prepared with things for that. Because I think that as the superintendent and the president both said, none of us are satisfied.
That's right.
And so we have to put that into action, and the August meeting is really where the board, individually and collectively, can have much influence on how that's done this year. So a plea for that.
Any other, Dean?
I would just say that plans are always real good. Whether it turns out to be a great plan is as my friend James has been saying since the first meeting I came on the board with him, is how you implement this stuff. And so hopefully we'll make this a great plan, which means it worked. And I like also that our ability to stay, if something's not working, we drop it and move on. And those things are important. This is how it works. And a plan is a plan, and then all the work that we did in this, it sounds great, but it's not going to be great unless it happens. So that's our job to make sure it does. But this is also a nice piece of work, and everyone that put their time into it did well. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe just to add on to that, Dean, I mean, Jen, just a personal thank you for the amount of time that you spent engaging with everybody in our community, and a thank you to, on the flip side, the tens and hundreds of staff members and students and community members and community leaders and so forth that engaged to help drive what the future of the district looks like. So I know there's been a lot of work from all sides that goes into this. Dean, to your point, I think the rubber hits the road at this point. So a request to kind of continue to have all of those voices be present as we drive forward. So.
Okay. Nikki?
I'm grateful for the work that has been done, and I do thank you for that. I believe that it's not a perfect document. I think we all agree with that. There's no such thing as a perfect document. I count the Constitution as a living document. I believe the strategic framework is also a living document, and it's what we make of it. That's important. I think the framework is good. I would like to see some pictures of individuals with disabilities in the booklet next time, but that's just me. But otherwise, I think it's great.
Okay, if there aren't any other comments, I will.
Framework that's supposed to be engaging community. We've been involved for the last year and a half, and we've talked to hundreds of people, including Cambodian people, which I'm sure is not represented here, Hmong people and Black people, hundreds of them, about safety, specifically around cops and schools. And so it's mighty strange to me that it doesn't show up in this strategic framework. And Leopold is a community school and segregated. That's a different thing. But this doesn't say anything about cops and schools. So I don't understand how this is a framework.
Thank you. It is, I will move that the Board of Education accept the July 2018 MMSD strategic framework as set forth in the materials. prepared for the regular meeting dated July 30th. You know, we will take a recess until we can restore a respectful environment. I move that the Board of Education accept the July 2018 MMSD strategic framework as set forth in the materials prepared for the regular board meeting dated July 30th, 2018.
Second.
Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the report on the items that proceeded through the instruction work group held on July 9th, 2018.
First off, this is my last report as the chair of the instruction work group, and I want to thank the board for the opportunity to fill that role, and I want to especially thank all the staff who worked in support, but especially Lisa, and also acknowledge that someone who's worked with that committee and elsewhere over time, that Jessica Hankey is also leaving our district, and acknowledge and thank her for her contributions. So that's.
Yeah.
We had 3 items on the agenda this month. We had the micro school update, which is actually very well covered in the newspaper today. And then we had 2 items which will come up for a vote. One is the at-risk plan, which is up for a vote later in the agenda, and the second is the school start times update. And we will have a vote on school start times after many years of effort and work. We will be making a decision, and I'm very pleased about that also. The date and possible agenda items for the next work group meeting is listed here as October, with no meetings for this work group in August or September. And there are no possible agenda items listed at this time, but I think that that discussion in August that I referenced earlier might produce some.
Well, thank you, TJ, and thanks for your leadership. It is much appreciated. Then I will report, and it's my last report as the chair of the operations work group on the meeting held July 16, 2018. The first item on that was our long-range facilities plan update. So I think we have a lot of exciting possibilities in the next few years about additional investments that we can make in our schools. And this is really the second update that we received from that group, but it will be the first of many, and going to really get into the meat of that planning this school year. The second item was Board Policy 1535 with regards to our school buildings, and that policy just needed some minor updates in order to support the work that's going to be going forward with our facilities planning. The third item was the Youth Apprenticeship Partnership Memorandum of Agreement, which covers our partnership around youth apprenticeship. That will be coming up for a vote in just a few moments. And that is the last item, and the next meeting is August 13th. The proposed agenda items are the review of Chapter 8000 board policies, along with the proposed Fitchburg TID number 10 amendment. So now we will take up the action items that proceeded through the instruction work group, and the first action item is the at-risk plan. So I move that the Board of Education approve the at-risk plan with recommended changes as set forth in the documents prepared for the July 30th, 2018 regular board meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. The next item is the school start times, and I move that the Board of Education approve the changes in school start times as set forth in the materials prepared for the July 30th, 2018 regular meeting, with such changes to start times to take effect beginning the 2019-20 school year after a planning year during the 2018-19 school year.
Second.
Any discussion? Yeah, TJ.
Just a quick thank you to Mike Hertig and Karen Kepler for their work on this over the time.
Great. James.
Yeah, as I've continually stated, that in order for me to really support the change in school start times, I needed to see really strong evidence from parents and staff that this is really what was needed and what they wanted. And as of right now, I see some evidence, but I'm not overwhelmed. I find the evidence that we should be changing school start times, at least in my view, to be underwhelming. I see at least 40% of staff, sometimes parents, in some of our measurements that indicated that they were unsure we should do this. And so I just find information and the data not overwhelming that we should do this. I think a lot of this is based on the research done by the Pediatric Society, and I think, you know, I'm in support of that research, but at the same time, I value staff and parent input more importantly, and so I'll be voting. I won't be voting in favor of changing school start times.
Okay. Any other comment? Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
That passes 5-1. Okay, the next item is are the action items that proceeded through the operations work group held on July 16, 2018. And the first item on that is with regards to the board policy 1535 on school buildings. And so I move that the Board of Education approve the changes to Board Policy 1535, school buildings, as set forth in the documents prepared for the regular board meeting dated July 30th, 2018.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. The second item is the high-intensity partnership renewal for our youth apprenticeship program. And I move that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of agreement for the youth apprenticeship partnership as set forth in the documents prepared for the July 30th, 2018 regular board meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Nikki?
I am going to be supporting it, but I do wish they would do more, and hopefully this can be worked into it on transportation, especially for students of color and disabled youth, because their participation numbers have been lowered due to the fact that transportation options have been lacking, and I think that would strengthen this partnership even more.
TJ?
I appreciate the work that's been done on this. I appreciate the more realistic goals that come with it this year. But I continue to believe that the business community, through the partnership with the Greater Madison Chamber of Commerce, should be supporting this work through private donations, so I will be voting against it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
That passes 5-1. Okay, then we are on to our consent agenda, and so I move that the Board of Education adopt and approve all the motions set forth in Section 10 of the electronic agenda prepared for the July 30th, 2018 regular board meeting, exactly as said motions are written. By voting affirmatively on this motion, a board member expresses his or her affirmative vote on each of the motions consolidated hereby, subject to any express separations that have been made by any member of the school board.
Second.
Okay, are there any separations?
The strategic framework.
Okay. I will separate out 10.7 and 10.8. TJ.
And I'll separate out 10.5 and 10.12.
Okay. Any other separations? Okay. Then Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. So then with regards to separations, TJ, 10.5?
I don't know if anyone's here who can answer questions related to this. So let me, this is, I'm not opposed to the contract with Wisconsin Youth Company, and I appreciate that what this is that we lost 10.5.
Yeah.
10.5. I think I'm on the right one.
Yeah.
Am I on the right one?
Okay. That's what I have.
I appreciate the fact that we are spending $665,000 in local money to provide services due to the lost federal money for the Community Learning Center grant. But I have great concerns that this is not sufficient. And we have last year the CLC at Leopold's, according to the MSCR reports, served 83 students. We have a low-income population of over 400 students at Leopold, 450, I think, something like that.
429.
429, thank you. And 20 to 30 slots in an after-school program at a school that size, and especially in the context of the fact that we're trying to do a community school there, to me is just really problematic. And so though I will be voting in favor of this, I really want to encourage work to be done to increase capacity for after-school programming and be done quickly. And I guess the other thing is that I said if there's anyone's available for questions, I do have questions about how 20 to 30 students will be selected for these quotes, for these, in effect, scholarships, where the CLCs were more of a drop-in kind of arrangement and so, yeah, I got a lot of concerns on this one.
Yeah, I'll try to talk about this a little bit, TJ. Jacob is in the audience who might be able, Jacob, why don't you come up here and we can chat about it a little bit. But while he's on his way, I dug into this a little bit more myself. Jacob was a real help to me understanding the situation more, and I would agree with you, TJ. I think we need to work on making sure that the after-school services at Leopold are sufficient, given the loss in CLC funding. Which is really unfortunate. I mean, there's a larger challenge here of losing federal funds for CLCs, which I think we've been talking about what we could possibly do on that front in terms of advocacy. And I would agree that I'm very thankful to the Wisconsin Youth Company for stepping in and being willing to build their own capacity to serve more students. But the reality is it's not where it needs to be, and they're also committed to building more capacity over time. So I think all that's fair. In terms of how the students are selected, Jacob, can you speak to that at all?
Well,
I think the school staff would make those decisions.
Traditionally, school staff, school administration, teachers identify students that are not performing academically and could use that academic support. So then they get registered in the CLC program and they attend for free. I think the discussion with the principals at Leopold and Wisconsin Youth Company is that they would continue to work with school administration, and teachers would identify students that would qualify for CLC, and this would be their alternative. And I guess the biggest hurdle is that it's not the same amount of kids that we traditionally served, and without that DPI funding, it's going to be a challenge. I think everybody's on the same page about growing it over the course of the year, seeing how it goes. That's what they're comfortable with. But I think if there was 50 kids, recommended by the school administration and teachers, I think what would happen would be it'd be either first come first serve, or we would maybe identify some other ways to scholarship them through Wisconsin Youth Company. There was some talk about that as well.
So if it is a matter of scholarships and if there's a matter of funding, don't hesitate to come back to us. If Wisconsin Youth Company or another provider has capacity, and clearly there's space at Leopold to do this, I think that within reason, the board would be open to budget amendments to support this work. And so, don't hesitate. Don't also hesitate to look for private funding. But if you can't get it, don't hesitate to come to us.
Yeah, I think that number was set because that's what they're comfortable with, at least their capacity this coming school year.
All right.
Yeah, and we talked about that earlier today. We will come back.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Anything else? All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay. Then we will, just get to that one. Okay. So I move that the Board of Education approve an expenditure with the Wisconsin Youth Company in an amount not to exceed $65,500 for the period of September 4th, 2018 through June 11th, 2019, under which WYC will provide after-school child care for students who are low-income and would have otherwise qualified for Community Learning Center, CLC, at Leopold Elementary School with funding from the 2018-19 MSCR operating budget.
Second.
Any discussion? Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. James, I'm going to ask whether you can handle the motions for 10.7 and 10.8, which is with regards to the Boys and Girls Club and the AVID program, and I will be recusing myself.
10.7, I move that the Board of Education accept payment in the amount of $26,739 from the Boys and Girls Club to fund 50% of the AVID tutor coordinator salary for 2017-18 school year with funding from the 2017-18 AVID operating budget.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll let your advisory vote, please.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 601.
I recuse myself.
Five. So, only 5 of us.
Sorry.
Okay. Is that 10.8?
Yeah. There was that 10.7, then there's 10.8.
Okay, 10A, I move that the Board of Education accept a payment of no more than $28,000 from the Boys and Girls Club to fund 50% of the AVID tutor coordinator salary for the 2018-19 school year with funding from the 2018-19 AVID operating budget.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll let your advisory vote, please.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0. And back to you, Madam President.
Okay, then 10.12, which is the service agreement with American Family Mutual Insurance Company. TJ, if it's okay with you, I'll just make the motion and then we'll proceed to discussion. Okay. I move that the Board of Education approve a service agreement with American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and related expenditures for an on-loan staff in the amount of $250,000 to support the building of MMSD staff skills, experience, and capacity in alignment with the strategic framework Shift 5. We embrace innovation with funding from the 2018-19 Research Accountability and Data Use Department operating budget.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
I will be voting against this, and a few reasons why. First off, I don't think we have a lot of information about this, and I hesitated to ask information before because we received a rubric where it was graded as a low-intensity partnership, in which case the board does not have a role in approval. Having examined the memo and looked at the rubric again, this should have been graded as a medium-intensity partnership. The budget is over $300,000. And that would have been 2 more points, and it would have been a medium-intensity partnership. Had I known that before, I would have raised issues when we initially saw the rubric. So that's why the delay. I think that we live in a city with one of the best public education schools in the country, as well as other educational resources. University.
Excuse me. Continue, teacher.
And turning to a insurance company for professional development in innovation and problem solving seems to me to be a odd thing to do in this situation. I appreciate the generosity of American Family Mutual Insurance Company and their willingness to work with us. I think that we do have some things we could learn from them, but a year-long partnership involving 2.5 staff members from MMSD does not seem like something that we should be doing. Additionally, especially at a time when we're having trouble filling professional positions within our district, to pull 2 people out to do professional development and innovation work with an insurance company, 2.5 people, doesn't seem like a wise use of our scarce human resources, so I'll be voting against it.
Jen, do you have any comments? I think I'd be interested in the rating of the low versus the medium and those the points.
Yeah, I think Jessica probably responded via email. I wasn't tracking the email this afternoon, but I'm assuming she responded on why they rated it low.
Ricardo responded that you're treating it as a medium intensity partnership.
Pardon me?
Ricardo responded that you're treating it as a medium intensity partnership, but the rubric rated it as low. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it clearly is borderline.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It is.
Nevertheless, I can't speak to the team that rated the partnerships. I'm not involved in that process. That said, let's pretend it's let's say it's a medium intensity partnership. I think that it's an incredibly exciting opportunity for us. TJ and I will always have a difference of opinion on this, so I'm not sure it's worth trying to win you over, TJ. I think that there's more that we can learn from other sectors in our community, and we need everyone. We need everyone's help. I think that there are staff members who are incredibly excited about building their capacity in this way, and we're quite honestly really excited about it too.
I just want to clarify that, as I said before, that I would be in support of a shorter and less intense. I do think there are things we can learn from this sector of our community. I just think that this goes beyond what we should be doing.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any further? Ahmad, we have a motion and a second. Your advisory vote? Aye. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
That passes 5-1. Okay, so that finishes up the consent agenda items, and so we are on to other reports to the board. Starting with the City of Madison Education Committee.
The City of Madison Education Committee unfortunately did not have a quorum. Therefore, we had no meeting, but our next meeting will be August 8th. Part of the reason for lack of quorum was both the City Council and MMSD were changing membership, so that was the issue that caused the lack of quorum that should be fixed by August 8th.
Okay, thanks, Nikki. The next report is from Student Senate. Ahmad?
Student Senate has not had a meeting since the last regular meeting, but we do plan to meet prior to the start of the 2018-19 school year and discuss possible agenda items at that time.
Okay. And next is MSCR. Dean?
Yeah, we just met last week, and there were several things going on. We saw this report, the annual report that shows the really quite extraordinary number of people that MSCR works with on a routine yearly basis, and they do a lot of good stuff. Two focuses on what we want to do moving forward is to increase the people on the advisory committee, particularly in the diversity of it, which is sorely lacking, so that we're going to be a big push on advertising and recruiting in that area. It's been a committee that is, I'm not sure how well known it even is, and that people should be involved in it, particularly when you look at the numbers of who are, particularly the students that are involved in after-school programs. Then the other thing is that the report back on the golf outing, and that includes this online auction. They make a lot of money at that thing, $60,000 goes towards. It's not a cheap entry fee, but along with the sponsorships and the online auction thing, they do pretty well. And that's it.
Thank you, Dean. The next report is from the ERO Ad Hoc Committee.
Yep, we met twice and they were lively. We're moving more towards trying to complete our work and get all something that we can bring back. I'm hoping that we'll be able to finish this in August.
Okay. And the Student Behavior Ad Hoc Committee, which is a new committee chaired by Gloria Reyes. Since Gloria is not able to be here tonight, James, would you like to give an update?
Yeah, I'm going to ask for an assist from Kate because she was, she's probably remembers more than me. But we met for the first time. It was pretty much an organizational meeting, and we sort of set the calendar for how we want to organize the conversation around the subject of student behavior. The committee deals with looking at policy, reviewing policy, and you know, any other issue we feel is important to in regards to student behavior. So it was more of an organizational meeting, setting the calendar and talking about what exactly we want to do at each given meeting. And we're going to look at some case studies, some schools, and it's a good committee, very well staffed. I think my hat's off to the administration for the way the committee is staffed. I think that's really a positive for the committee. We had some very good discussions on day one, and I think that's attributed to the fact that we're staffed very well. So, Kate, you have anything you might like to add?
You're good. It's good.
Okay. So next on the agenda is other business, and we have a number of different items there, the first of which is the annual declaration of educational standards, which is required by the state. So I move that the Board of Education approve the Common Core State Standards as formally adopted by Wisconsin by the Department of Public Instruction in Mathematics, English Language Arts, and Literacy, History, Science, and Technical subjects, in addition to the next generation science standards for all schools in the district. Arts education will align arts, music, and theater instruction with the National Core Arts Standards, as well as the MMSD prepares for district-wide implementation beginning in the 2018-19 school year. Physical education will align instruction with the National Physical Education Standards from SHAPE America to prepare for district-wide implementation beginning in the 2019-20 school year.
Second.
Any discussion? Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. The next item is with regards to the Watts Road attachment and assignment of school attendance areas. I move that the Board of Education approve school assignments for the property attached to the MMSD and detached from the Middleton Cross Plains Area School District located at 7902 Watts Road and more fully set forth in the attached map to Falk Elementary, Jefferson Middle, and Memorial High School attendance areas.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No. All, Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 6-0. The next item is the Office of Secretary, Board of Education. So with Mike Berry's retirement, I would recommend that the Board of Education, or I would move that the Board of Education elect Kelly Ruppel to the Office of Secretary to the Board of Education for the 2018-19 school year, replacing Mike Berry, who is retiring effective October 1, 2018.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I went to I was prompted to and went to look today at both statutes and board policy, and the duties of the secretary aren't defined anywhere. And so, neither in statutes nor in board policy, we're required to have one. So as we look at things this fall, we were going to come back to the board set of the 1000s. Perhaps we want to define the duties of this.
Great.
Okay, they're just not. It's
Thanks, TJ. Any further discussion? Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. There is no old or new business for this meeting, and so I move to adjourn.
Second.
Ahmad, your advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.